well, as you are basically, as we are talking here really about your oeuvre, also to get people a certain idea of what they will see in the next few days, could you really talk a bit about one specific aspect of your work, which is actually the autobiographical aspect? I mean, to a certain degree, we actually see your whole life all over your oeuvre. We can follow you through your life.
Yes.
How did that develop? I mean,
how you started?
Yes, I mean, did you always intend to only make films about yourself, so to speak?
No, my own wish to make film started with I saw the French film Jules le Diem with François Truffaut, and I already have the feeling when I saw piece of art who really shocked me. I have to recreate it, not because I wanted to make some new masterpiece, but just to own what I have seen, to understand it better. So when I saw Jules le Diem, I had said I got to make a film like that. So without any preparation in any way, I have never made any film or even photographing. I started to make a feature directly, and how could I do that? At the same time, I started to study medicine. So, and I continued to study medicine for the next 22 and a half years before I finished. But as a medical student, I could get a job on the hospital as a nurse and create a fortune I need for the film. And my father, who hated my dream of making film, because he was a neurosurgeon and he wanted me to be a neurosurgeon. But one day I was sitting in the basement of our house, I have my room, and he came down. I could hear his steps down the stairs, and then he come in and placed a little suitcase on my table and said that this was 60 millimeters camera from the neurosurgical ward. Yep. So, and he hoped that I would try to make some film and then realize that so difficult it was. So I would stop that and then really started to study medicine. But it went the other way. I made my first film with that camera. It was called Strange Love, with my old friend from my gymnasium in front and behind the camera. And it really succeeded to get up in the cinema for 3 days in my hometown, Aarhus, and in 3 days in Copenhagen, and got very, very, very bad reviews. And one of the reviews said, those too many young guys dreaming of making films should pilgrimage to see this film to see how bad it can work out. And I must say that was some kind of a shock for me. So I was really happy that I still have my medical student studies, so I could continue on that. But then I realized that I have a good memory from my childhood, because I met some of my old friends from that time when I was. And so let's use that, because here are some material that are really personal, strong for me, and also by making the first film, I realized some possibilities of filming, because normally you film have a scene for 3 minutes. You film the whole scene in 3 minutes from one side and from the other side, and then in the editing table you decide how to editing these scenes. I realized if I planned where to cut the film, I could just go from cut to cut. So I only film 3 or 4 seconds at a time. So the children in the next film, they shouldn't play, they should just do something. So I was in some way the person who played all the parts of the film. So the life came through the what do you call it? All the short scenes.
The editing.
The editing.
Where you add them up, so to speak. Yeah.
So, and that film, Lars Ole 5C, about my 5-class school time, got the prize of best film of the year in Denmark. So once again, I was paid myself, without any kind of support, and that opened up all the doors. And since then I have been supported for every single film I have wanted to make. I have never had a no since then.
Wow. But actually, how can you actually develop something based on your life? How do you look at yourself and to make yourself matter to other people? Let's put it like that.
I just described what I remembered, and I know some of my friends from that time said that they were surprised because I could remember what they had forgotten, not only for my own part, also for their parts. And there was no problem with what was the truth in Lars Ole 5C, but later on you could discuss what was the truth in the Tree of Knowledge. But only the villain says that I'm lying. All the others says no, he's telling the truth.
Telling the truth and basically going back to fact is actually quite two rather different things, because telling the truth is basically extracting something from your own life, so to speak, that might matter to other people. So you have to look at yourself quite objectively.
Yes, of course I have to do that. So I have to be critical to my own person too, and to see the last film, Sorrow and Joy. Of course, I'm very critical to my part in that story too. Of course.
You actually mentioned yourself that your films can get allegorical dimensions due to things you learn later, and that you suddenly start to look at your life differently.
Yes. The Tree of Knowledge, I think that's the most known of my film, and it was a film about the puberty, and for really feeling how things changed during the puberty. It was shot over several years, so the actors really developed and changed during the 2 years we were filming the film, and it was nearly a reconstruction, not a documentary, but in some way it was a reconstruction, because I didn't need children who could act very brilliant, because with the very short shots I made, I could use nearly everyone. So I could look at my own class picture and find some children who looks precisely as my own comrades in my class. And this story is about me, of course, his name is Ole, but mostly it's about the girl Elin, and who is the most popular girl in the film, in the story, and all the boys was in love with her in the beginning, and she started to get some connection with the villain, Helge, and but he realized no, she didn't like him, so he quit him, and then he started a hit against her. Using this ugly, she called her TRL, meaning transportable traveling hooker. Yeah, it's just as weird in that day as it is today. It's really weird, transportable hooker. And what the funny thing is that all the boys took part of it, and they from being the most popular girl, she was the most expelled girl in the class, and the girls, all her girlfriend also was against her, and it continued for the rest of our middle school. That was 4 years, and then she left school, and but what we didn't know at that time was that she was Jewish. She was a Jew. And I'm sure if someone has told us that she was a Jew, that would have saved her, because that would make us realize what we were doing. But I'm no more in doubt of, because she thought that we knew it, and that it has, and that was the reason that we was behaved her so badly. But when I made the film, of course, I have some discussion with her, and I met her, and she told how she looked at what happened, and then she told me that she was Jewish, but in the film I don't use it because that would be too easy to tell what was going on. And now, 30 years later, I met her once again, and then she told me what I didn't know when I made the film, that summer, before the head starts against her, in the middle of our school time, she was in Germany to visit some distant family. And for the first time, she asked what happened to my grandparents. And they told that they all died in Auschwitz. And that makes the tree of knowledge, it's allegory.
All of your films, except Sorrow and Joy, are actually about unrequited love, about actually unhappy love.
Yes.
Why do you think that love is unhappy?
Because that's how I remembered it. Because it always ends unhappy, at least. And on the other hand, I must say that that's the best way to tell the feeling of love. You are first really in love when you are unhappy in love. At that time, when you are young.
Just wanted to say.
Because if you the emotions are stronger when you are unhappy in love, I think. But the last film, Sorrow and Joy, that's finally have the major love. Yep. So that's why I feel that this was my last film, because now I have finished my oeuvre. Now I have tell the whole way to the end.
But haven't you been saying that you are making your last film now for 20 years almost?
Yes. Yes, this is for the 4, 5, 6 time I say that. But I think, I hope this is my last film, because that will be strong if I could finish this now. I have no idea, because I've used all my personal experiences. I have told now. There's not more.
Then one final question. You have, I think by now, 8 alter egos of yourself all over the decades.
Yes.
Who do you think is actually the one you feel closest to?
Jakob, where is he? Jakob is there because I didn't know Jakob before. I knew him as a player, but I didn't know him as personally. But of course, I made a casting. There was 2 or 3 good possibilities, but Jakob was the first I tried, but at once we really understand each other so close that it was really funny. And he said all the lines precisely as I expected them to be said.
So the last Nils is also the perfect Nils, so to speak.
Yes, it is indeed.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I must say, when I'm making a film, for instance, Aarhus by Night, which is a meta-film about making a film, he's very, very different from me. I have no... it was not important for me that he looks like me. Yep. Jakob do, and maybe he's a little more beautiful than I am, but it was not important that he looks like me.
Yep. Okay, then I would like to thank you very, very much, and I hope that all of you will come to see all the other films, and we will have a lot of Q&As afterwards, and you can ask many, many questions, and I'm quite certain that you will have many, many questions. And if you don't have them, I have them.